What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at a VR title that is one of my most anticipated games in general for the entire year. This is MADISON VR. This is a original horror game that wasn't in VR, which has now finally come to VR on PlayStation VR 2 and on PC for now. I never played the original just because I was kind of waiting for a version like this in virtual reality, because I've learned that games in VR, horror games especially, are just elevated to a whole new level. This was developed by Bloodious Games and published by VR Games. The original came out back in 2022, and this one is releasing on Thursday, May the 2nd, 2024 on both Steam and PSVR 2. First of all, I do apologise in my voice in this video. I am pretty run down at the minute. I don't know if that's because I've been screaming so much at this game that I've lost my voice, but either way, I do apologise. But this game so far has been incredible. I haven't finished the game, unfortunately. I've been hammering this game, trying to get this review ready for the embargo. I've done about, I want to say about 6 hours now, and from what I've seen, it's looking like I'm getting towards the end of the game. So I do have a big grasp on the game, but I don't have the full picture, which is no pun included. So I'm going to give you a rundown of Madison's story if you haven't already seen it. You essentially play the character of a young boy called Luca. You're in this creepy house, no one else is around, and you find these pictures of what look like sacrificial victims' limbs, and you have to kind of figure out the story as you go along, finding your way through this creepy house and all of the lore and story about what has happened. You don't really remember what's happened, and this is told to you via notes you find around the house, like a survival horror game, and also by finding cassette tapes that you can put into a cassette tape player and listen to them to give you some more backstory about what's happened previously. There's been a horrible incident in this house at some point, or in terms of the story, there's been a horrible event that's happened where lots of people have been murdered and massacred, and I won't go too much into it or how it happened or where it happened or when it happened, but you just have to find out the story for yourself. So you're kind of put into the shoes of this character who doesn't know what's really going on, so it's perfect for VR because you are essentially playing as that character. I was a little bit taken aback when I first started because you're playing as a younger person and the hands are so small and the wrists were so small, it kind of threw me out of it. But you soon learn that is the story, so it's only like a weird thing for a couple of seconds. Now, I can't speak for the original version. All I know is that it's claimed to be one of the scariest games of all time scientifically, so I've always just not expected it to be. I've always thought that might just be a blanket statement, but from what I've played in this version, I can absolutely say this is the scariest experience I've had in VR, 100%. With you being in a VR headset, you're kind of confined to this place, and the graphics are really good. It looks almost real at sometimes, photorealistic, so sometimes you kind of lose yourself in this house and walking around. You kind of feel like you're actually in this place, peeking around these corners and trying not to get scared by the darkness in doorways. And that is what really shines on this one, especially on the PlayStation VR 2 version. I've not tried the PC version, but with those OLED panels and HDR, the blacks in this are just crazily dark. So you'll be walking down a corridor and you can just see a doorway on your left or right, and it's just pitch black. You cannot see what's in there, and it's not artificially done, I don't think. It's actually the actual brightness of the area until you walk into the room. Or if you chicken out and you don't want to go in there, you can try and find somewhere that's a little bit brighter, which is probably going to have the same amount of jump scares. And let me tell you, the jump scares in this game, they may be cheap as every other jump scare in a horror film or a horror game, but every single one of them got me in this game. And I don't know if that's just the atmosphere, being in a headset, being with headphones on, like everything worked perfectly in this to create this great horror experience. So the sound design is amazing. You have so many noises which you have no idea where they're coming from, just creaky noises, doors opening, things shuffling around. There's a thunderstorm going on outside, so it's kind of like the perfect balance of figuring out where the hell any of these noises are coming from, or whether you actually heard it or not. So you might hear a creak and you'll spin your head around and look at a doorway and there's nothing there, and you're trying to think, is there something there? Did I miss something? Or is it just my mind playing tricks on me? Is the game trying to trick me into thinking something's there? And they do a lot of fake outs in this game where you kind of expect something to happen, where you walk into a room thinking that something creepy is going to happen and it's fine, and then you leave the room and something jumps out and scares you. There's one moment in particular in the game where you go into a flooded area and you have a radio, and you use the radio to kind of look around and use its transmission to figure out where its frequency is it's like loudest, and then you can use the Polaroid camera, which is a great big feature in this game, which you use most of the time to progress the story and the puzzles. And you use the camera to basically change things. It's a lot like Layers of Fear in that way. The place is ever changing, and it all happens when you use the camera. And I thought the camera was like a really cool mechanic, because it's this really old school Polaroid picture camera, and every time you take a picture with it, you have to pull the the picture out and shake it until it develops, and it gives you this sense of like, I don't know, you're kind of, when you're looking at the picture, you're just expecting something to pop out when you're doing it, so you're kind of always scared to look at these pictures in case what you've taken a picture of is actually standing there watching you. There's a few moments in a game where I've tried to take pictures of things I thought were creepy in the distance, and it just wouldn't develop, so I'd have to get closer to then take a picture, or just get closer to see what it was without it trying to kill me. As far as the headset for this one, I think they really nail it on pretty much all levels. The haptics in the controllers, the haptics in the headset especially. It doesn't happen too frequently with the headset, but when you are having these moments in the game where essentially something is happening to you and there's like a piercing siren noise and the headset is basically shaking, and it really makes you feel like you're in like pain, although you're obviously not, but you feel like you're having like a migraine or you're about to have a seizure or something. So obviously that's not going to happen, but it really makes you feel like that with the combination of the siren, the piercing noise, and the headset rumble. It's the same with the controllers. Whenever you reach out towards like a wall or something, this is especially handy when you're in a really dark area, because if you reach out and touch like a wall, the hand that you're touching the wall with will vibrate, so it gives you a sense of where you are. Now the game is really dark, but there's not that many times where I felt like I was completely lost, because there's always a little bit of light to guide you into the right distance or the right location. You're never completely stuck in a pitch black room with no way out. You can always turn around and find your way out. Now onto the puzzles of the game. This is a very puzzle driven game. There isn't exactly any combat in the game. It's all shocks, jump scares, psychological horror, and the puzzles. And the puzzles in this one are quite tricky, I'm not gonna lie. Some of them took me quite a while to figure out, whether it's the ones where you have to take pictures of things or just getting items and moving the items around and taking pictures of different locations and things like that. Some of them you really have to put your mind to it, and I was stuck a few times during the game. And where I'm up to right now, I'm at the clock puzzle. If you already know what that is from playing the original game, or if you've already played the VR version, that's where I'm up to now. And I kind of had to take a little break just to get my head around the puzzle, because when you're in a VR game playing puzzles that you're stuck on, you tend to, I don't know, you're stuck in the headset, so you can't exactly just chill out and think about it. You're in this horrible house and this situation, and you can't figure out the puzzle, and you're scared something's going to jump out while you're trying to figure it out. There is an inventory system in the game as well. It's not like the most in-depth thing. You don't really have to use it too much, and it doesn't really matter too much, but there are safes in the game where you open them up and take items out, and you can actually store items in them. So there's a few times in the game where if you've picked up too many things and you need to get an item to pick up, like a key to open a door, and you don't have space, you do have to backtrack to a safe to open it up and put your, well, any item you don't think you're going to need into. And luckily, usually when these puzzles are involved, they've done a good job of making it so that there's a safe nearby. But there's one area in particular, I'd say towards the end of the game where I'm up to, where I left something I really needed, and I'd had to go up like 4 different floors in a place to get back to where it was. So that was the only time where it was a problem for me. But overall, this is just like, this is the pinnacle of horror in VR for me so far. I've had an amazing time with it, and I just want to see more like this. And I do really want to check out the PC version as well, just to see how that one fares. I imagine it's not much different. It might have a bit more fidelity to it, but just the blacks and the HDR on this PSVR 2 headset just really stand out. So this is, as far as I'm concerned, this is probably the best way to play it. You'll probably get better visuals on the PC version, maybe a higher frame rate, but when you're looking at the darkness on this one, it looks incredible. So I think that probably paints a picture of the overall experience. I mean, there's not that much to talk about. Once you know the gameplay and how to use the camera and using the camera at the right time, that's one thing I had a bit of trouble with. I do have a full playthrough of this coming out, and you'll find that in the first episode or two, I didn't really know what to do with the camera, but there are Polaroids all over the place, and whenever you see an area where there are Polaroid pictures all over the floor or next to an item, it's an indicator that is a photo zone, and you can use the camera there to take a picture to change the environment or figure out a puzzle. So I didn't see that in the first place. I think when I loaded the game back in, it came up with a screen which had like, you know, like your tips when you're loading in, and it actually told me about that being a photo zone. So once I'd figured that out, I kind of was able to figure out, oh, I need to use the camera now. One thing also about the camera which was just awesome is you can kind of take pictures on, make your own creepy experience with this. It'd be great if the pictures you took were able to be, you know, kept as a screenshot, but you'd have situations where you'd take a picture of something you would think something would happen, and it wouldn't, but you just have this really creepy picture. And holding like a virtual reality picture of something creepy while looking at a camera, it was just like a really immersive experience I wasn't expecting, and I wish more games would do things like that. It's kind of like you're breaking the fourth wall. You're taking a picture in the game of something and actually seeing what you've taken. It's hard to explain, but it was really, really awesome. Overall, a terrifying experience. I can't wait to finish the game. It's unfortunate I wasn't able to get the game completely finished in time for this review, but I think I'm definitely going to be playing this all week, and I think I might have it finished within the next couple of days. So if anything changes, maybe I'll do an updated review, or maybe I'll do some live streams. But if you haven't already checked out my channel before, please hit the subscribe button, because I'm going to be doing a full playthrough of this. I'm going to be uploading what I've recorded so far, so you'll be notified when that goes live, and you can see what I'm talking about. And there's plenty of jump scares in there, I'm not going to lie. I don't think I've ever screamed so much in a game, so it explains why my voice is gone. So thank you all for watching this review. I hope you've enjoyed it, and there's plenty more VR content on this channel, and plenty more VR content coming in the future. So see you all in the next one.